Hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You're listening to the longest running superhero role playing game on Earth. I'm your host, the Game Master, and today we're talking about the Squadron Supreme. And before I really get into it, I will tell you the story the way it was told to me. So the year was 1971, and a man named Roy Thomas was writing the Avengers comics at the time. And he was good friends with another man named Mike Friedrich, who was writing Justice League at the time. And back then, as I understand it, you had to live in New York City if you wanted to work for Marvel and DC. So, point being, these guys would eat lunch together quite a bit. So, one day, they're sitting in a restaurant venting about their frustrations as comic book writers and how tired they were of doing what they'd been doing. So, one of them jokes that they should just have the Avengers fight the Justice League. That way, instead of the two men having to write two scripts this month, they could just write one script together and it would be half as much work. Then, what began as a joke started to snowball. So, they actually did it. And each man turned in his copy of the script to his respective editor. And both Marvel and DC hated the idea and it was shot down. So Mike Friedrich took characters in his version of the script, like the Scarlet Witch, and renamed her as the Silver Sorceress. And he created analogs of the Avengers called the Champions of Angor. Meanwhile, Roy Thomas would take characters in his script, like Wonder Woman, and rename her Power Princess. Superman became Hyperion, Batman became Nighthawk, and so Marvel's Squadron Supreme was born. And Avengers number 85 and Justice League number 87, which were the first appearances of these teams, both hit newsstands in February of 1971. And the way I heard it, they hit the exact same day. And both Marvel and DC heard the other company had supposedly infringed on their intellectual property, and both were getting ready to sue the other company. Then both found out that they themselves had done the exact same thing. And as such, there were no lawsuits. But supposedly, Roy Thomas and Mike Friedrich were both chewed out for this stunt that they had pulled. But it paved the way for actual crossovers that we would get later in the decade, like the famous Superman Spider-Man crossover of 1977. And crossovers like that heavily inspired our role playing game. So I wanted to give a shout out to Roy Thomas and Mike Friedrich. If not for this one conversation that they supposedly had at the lunch table half a decade before I was even born, I don't think that this role playing campaign would even exist. And all the friends and stuff that I've made throughout the course of my life because of my game, I don't know if we'd even be friends. So my life would actually be very different. At any rate, before we get into the role playing game itself, as always, I implore you to smash that like button, make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell for notifications, and leave us a comment. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm, and we love hearing from you guys. We've genuinely got a great community here, and it's all thanks to you. There's a million other things you could be doing, and you're listening to me instead. So thank you so much for that. With all that said, let's dive in. The prologue to this one takes place in 1971 when the Avengers are in the ruins of Asgard searching for anything of value. When they're finished, the new Thor, aka Roger Red Norvell, spins his mighty hammer, creating a portal. And they all step through and onto familiar looking city streets. But for some reason, nobody recognizes them. The Red Thor says he understands why people have no idea who he is, but why does nobody recognize the other Avengers? So the Avengers return to their mansion only to find a caped crusader there by the name of Nighthawk. He tells them to leave, but instead, they ask him why he's in their headquarters. He does a flying kick into the chest of Red Thor, but his flesh is like steel. So Nighthawk instead retreats through a secret passageway in the wall. Giant Man forces the passageway open, triggering a small bomb which explodes. He's dazed for a brief moment, and thanks to this explosion, the Squadron Supreme knows they have uninvited guests on Earth S, which brings us to the main plot. The Avengers of Earth K come face to face with the Squadron Supreme of Earth S. Amphibian, the Marvel knockoff of Aquaman, attacks Valkyrie, rolling a 2 and a 5, which is a miss. Valkyrie hits back, rolling a 7 and an 8, which hits, doing 7 points of damage. She attacks again, rolling a 10 and a 6, doing another 7 points of damage. So Amphibian is knocked out. Arcana, the Marvel knockoff of Zatanna, attacks the Scarlet Witch, rolling a 5 and a 4, which is a miss. They actually, by the way, have the exact same physical attributes. So each of them needs to roll an 11 or better on two 10-sided dice in order for them to hit the other one. Scarlet Witch then goes rolling an 8 and a 3, doing 7 points of damage, which knocks out Arcana. Blue Eagle, the Marvel knockoff of Hawkman, attacks Black Panther, rolling a 7 and a 1, which is a miss. Black Panther hits back, rolling a 10 and a 3, which hits for 8 damage, knocking out Blue Eagle. Dr. Spectrum, the Marvel knockoff of Green Lantern, attacks Iron Man. Dr. Spectrum rolls a 1 and a 4, which is a miss. Iron Man rolls double 9s, then a 10 and an 8, for a total of 36, which is 8 column shifts. So Dr. Spectrum takes a whopping 17 points of damage and is knocked out. Golden Archer, the Marvel knockoff of Green Arrow, attacks Hawkeye, rolling a 1 and a 7, missing. Hawkeye hits back, rolling a 7 and a 2, which is exactly what he needed to hit. Golden Archer takes 7 points of damage and is knocked out. Hyperion, the Marvel knockoff of Superman, attacks the Red Thor, rolling a 6 and a 5, which hits, but does no damage. Red Thor hits back, rolling a 9 and a 2, which hits, doing 14 points of damage, taking Hyperion's body down to -2. So Hyperion is knocked out. Lady Lark, the Marvel knockoff of Black Canary, attacks Mockingbird, rolling a 10 and a 1, which misses. Mockingbird strikes back, rolling a 9 and a 7, hitting for 9 points of damage. Lady Lark is knocked out. Nighthawk, the knockoff of Batman, attacks Captain America, rolling a 4 and a 5, which misses. Cap fights back, rolling double 10s, then a 6 and a 3 for a total of 29, which is 6 column shifts, doing 13 points of damage. Nighthawk is knocked out. Power Princess, the Marvel knockoff of Wonder Woman, attacks She-Hulk, rolling a 4 and an 8. She only needs a 4 or better to hit She-Hulk because of how crazy good she is at fighting. But to calculate damage, we look at the strength of Power Princess, which is 11 APs, versus the body of She-Hulk, which is 11 APs. But then She-Hulk also has 9 APs of skin armor, which you add to her body. So that means the attack that Power Princess used didn't do any damage. She-Hulk tries to hit her back, but needs to roll a 21 or better to hit. And on She-Hulk's turn, she rolls a 1 and a 2, so it's a massive miss. She-Hulk tries again, rolling an 8 and a 10, which is a great roll, but it still isn't enough to hit Power Princess, whose agility is just absolutely insane. So that's a draw for the girls. Meanwhile, the Skrullian Skymaster, who is the Marvel knockoff of the Martian Manhunter, attacks the Swordsman, rolling a 5 and a 4, which misses. Swordsman hits back, rolling a 9 and a 10, doing 9 points of damage. Skrullian Skymaster is knocked out. Tom Thumb, the Marvel knockoff of the Atom, attacks Ant-Man, rolling a 7 and an 8, which still manages to miss. Tom Thumb, by the way, only has a dex of 3. He has horrible attributes. So Hank Pym hits back, rolling a 9 and a 3, which hits for 10 points of damage, and Tom Thumb is knocked out. The Wizard is the Marvel knockoff of the Flash. He attacks Quicksilver, rolling a 1 and a 5, which is a miss, so Quicksilver strikes back, subbing his Shift Z super speed for Shift Z strength. He rolls a 9 and a 4, which hits, doing 12 points of damage. The Wizard is knocked out. So at this point, everybody but She-Hulk won their fight, while She-Hulk and Power Princess are still going at it. Power Princess attacks She-Hulk, rolling a 5 and a 10. Power Princess did no damage. She-Hulk hits back, rolls a 5 and a 1. Again, doesn't accomplish anything. This goes on forever. this lasted for such a long time that we were playing this out. And all the while, by the way, the Avengers start to notice that the sun in this dimension is about to go supernova. Ant-Man urges Power Princess to surrender, but she refuses. So finally, Red Thor attacks Power Princess, rolling a 7 and an 8, which for him is a hit. Because he's wearing the Belt of Strength, that adds an extra 4 column shifts to his damage, which is actually exactly what he needed to knock out Power Princess. Now that the Squadron Supreme has been defeated, a portal opens up. It's been created by Reed Richards back on Earth K, and the Avengers pass through the portal, taking the knocked out Squadron Supreme members with them, saving their lives from their doomed world. Once on Earth K, the Avengers take the Squadron Supreme to the Vault, a maximum security prison for supervillains located in Colorado and created by Tony Stark. Which brings us to the epilogue. In the final moments of Earth S, before their sun goes supernova, Ape X, who is the Marvel knockoff of Gorilla Grodd, detects the portal to Earth K and thinks that the Squadron Supreme opened it to escape their doomed world. So Ape X does likewise, leading a group of characters from Earth S to Earth K. Among them are Dr. Decibel, Foxfire, Haywire, Inertia, Lamprey, Moonglow, Nuke, Quagmire, Redstone, Shape, and Thermite, just to name a few. Apex is furious that the Squadron Supreme seem to leave the others to die. So Apex vows to find the Squadron Supreme wherever they are and kill them as revenge. Apex also plans to conquer Earth K, which would, of course, be a story for another day. As always, if you'd like to support our channel, we would love it if you took a moment of your time to smash that like button. Check to see if you're still subscribed, because YouTube really does love to unsubscribe you without letting you know. Ring the bell so that you know when we upload more videos like this one. And as always, leave us a comment. We love hearing from you guys. From all of us here at the longest running superhero role-playing game on Earth, we hope all of you have a good one, and we'll see you in the next adventure.